In today's video, we continue along with our NHL season preview series. We now move along to teams in the Central Division, and we're going to start with the Chicago Blackhawks. The Bedard era is about to begin, and that's coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we're going on to the Central Division team previews now. We completed all of the teams in the Atlantic Division. Now we're going to move westward and take a look at some of these teams in the Central Division. We're going to start with Chicago. If you're new to this series, here's quickly how we break this up into segments. We're going to first recap last year. So we're going to look at how the team did, some key team stats, individual scoring stats, take a look at their cap space, recent playoff history. Then we're also going to take a look at how this team has changed, subtractions, additions, what players left, who's now on the roster, who are some bounce back and breakthrough candidates, what's this lineup looking like going into the season, and what do we expect from them. So let's first start by recapping the 22-23 season for the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, they finished pretty low in the standings, but they were rewarded with the first overall pick and had some good luck in the NHL Draft lottery. Only had 59 points last year with a record of 26, 49, and 7. They scored 204 goals, which was dead last in the NHL. They allowed 301, which was 27th best. The power play wasn't very good at 16.4, which was 28th best, and the PK was 76.2% for 22nd overall. So certainly this team is, been down in the dumps here for a few years, and they are certainly, hopefully, I guess, by the fans' sake, are probably hoping that last year was kind of like the bottoming out, and they'll start working their way back up. Time will tell, I guess. We will see. Obviously, they did well with the draft lottery, got themselves a potential generational player, and we'll see how that changes their fortunes this year. Now, looking at the scoring leaders last year, there's obviously some names that are even no longer with the team, including the top two names. They were led by Max Domi with 49 points. Patrick Kane put up 45. Athanasiou had 40. Taylor Radish and Seth Jones each had 37. Of course, Patrick Kane and Max Domi were both traded at the NHL trade deadline. So certainly, this team has seen a fair bit of turnover and change over the past couple of seasons. That's certainly, continued this past year for sure. This will be going into the second year behind the bench for Luke Richardson as head coach. And of course, the Blackhawks also went through some other changes throughout the summer as well, with longtime owner Rocky Wirtz passed away. So his son Danny now has full control as being chairman. He already was a pretty high-ranking official within the team and within the company, but now he's even higher was now that his dad's passed away. So obviously they went through some loss in that sense. Playoff wise, they've missed for the past 3 years, but they haven't won a round since 2015, which was a Stanley Cup championship season for them. So it's been a long time coming. We're looking at 8 going on 9 seasons since they've won a round in the playoffs, and 3 years since they've had any taste of it whatsoever. But this team has been going through a rebuild, and like I said, after kind of bottoming out last year, will this be the year that they start to move back up, or will they still have some more time to go yet before they've officially hit rock bottom and start climbing back up? We'll discuss that here as we get further along. Cap space wise, they have $12.8 million available in space, and it gives them a full 23-player roster. So really, they're well positioned salary cap wise, and they should be. If they're a team that's rebuilding, they shouldn't be right up against the cap, and they're not. They have room. They can take on salary. They can weaponize that space to get more assets and put it to good use in that sense. Now let's take a look at how this team has changed over the course of the offseason. Let's start with the subtractions. Who is no longer on this club that we saw with them last year, or finished the season with them last year? Obviously, I mentioned Domi and Kane. They were traded at the deadline, so they're not going to show on this list because they were gone before the season was over. But longtime captain Jonathan Toews, he's gone as well. He's a UFA right now, has chosen not to sign anywhere because he wants to focus on his health. Expectations are he's going to sit out the season, and he'll consider coming back next year and reevaluate things, but he wants time to just focus on his health and getting himself all in order here. Caleb Jones, Ian Mitchell, Jujhar Khaira, Anders Bjork, these players are really nothing too significant, mostly depth, role players for the team, were not retained and will not be back with the Blackhawks for the coming season. So along with Kane and Domi, we also saw some guys like Sam Lafferty and Jake McCabe also be traded at the deadline. Of course, those two guys went to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Domi's now a Leaf as well. And of course, Kane was a Ranger. He remains unsigned like his former teammate, Jonathan Toews, as he rehabs from hip surgery. And I would imagine sometime in the next little bit here, we'll have a little bit more clarity on the future of Patrick Kane, but we don't expect that to be in Chicago. But the Blackhawks did go out and find some other veteran players to play along with their young crowd. That's going to be hopefully taking some big steps and be some of the key players for this team down in the future, especially Connor Bedard. But additions include Taylor Hall, Nick Foligno, Corey Perry, Ryan Donato. Fair to say, though, they picked up Hall by trade. Everybody else needed new contracts, and Foligno and Perry were definitely overpaid. There's no doubt. They were not going to get that kind of money anywhere else. And as much as you kind of wonder, are they going to play more for a Stanley Cup? Or what are they going to do? Because they're getting later into their careers. And that might have been their mindset. But when they were offered the kind of money they were, around $4 million, most other teams were probably going to offer $1. So clearly they opted for the money. And we'll see if they decide to be moved at the deadline or what have you. But that hefty payday might make that difficult. Obviously, another big addition, which is prospect Connor Bedard. Normally, at this point in the video, we're looking at teams, we're looking at prospects that might have an impact. Well, we don't have any doubt on Connor Bedard's impact. He's going to play first-line minutes. Like I said, he's the first overall pick, generational talent. He's going to have a big impact for sure. Just how big, time will tell. But there's no doubt about it. As far as other guys, we should see some good years from Lukas Reichel, Kevin Korchinski. Those are players I expect to see playing a fair bit of NHL action and making positive impacts on this roster as well. Now, looking at some potential bounce back and breakthrough candidates. For bounce back, I went with Taylor Hall. Taylor Hall's been, for the most part, the last few years playing second, third line minutes in Boston. He's not like he hasn't done a bad job or anything like that. It's not like he really has struggled. But honestly, I think if you look back to what Taylor Hall did in New Jersey as that MVP-type player, he's, for the first time in a long time, going to get a chance to play a lot of minutes with a real high-end talent in Bedard. And I think Connor Bedard is the kind of player who can play with a lot of different players and make them better. And I think Hall is going to benefit from that. So to be honest, I think Taylor Hall's probably going to put up some better numbers this year. I think he's going to bounce back and be closer to what he was when he was leading the Devils than what we've seen in Boston in the last few years. Like I said, I don't think he was bad in Boston. I just think they had a deep enough team that he wasn't given as big a role. Whereas in Chicago, he's going to play top line minutes with a new generational talent. That's got to help, right? At least you would think. For a breakthrough candidate, I'm going with Bedard. I think he's going to break through immediately and have a significant impact on the league and this team. I have no doubt he's going to be one of the best rookie seasons we've seen in recent memory. Just how good is the question. But I'm not sure that anybody else really on this Hawks roster really qualifies for a true breakthrough player like Bedard would. So that's why I selected him for that designation. Now, looking at the expected lineup here, according to dailyfaceoff.com, let's look at what we think the lines are going to be like, the depth chart here. We got Connor Bedard playing top line minutes, likely with Taylor Hall and Taylor Radish. That's how things are expected right now. That could be a good line. Radish could very much benefit from Bedard as well. We should see a second line of Philip Kurashev with Athanasiou and Reichel. So getting another youngster like Reichel into a top six role, also important. Donato should play in the third line with Dickinson and Tyler Johnson. And then on the fourth line, you get Blackwell with Perry and Foligno. So certainly you've got some good veterans. You've got some guys that are willing and able to be the type of players that get on your skin, drop the gloves, play hard, good leaders. Is there enough talent there to get them to the playoffs? I honestly don't think so. But they're going in the right direction, and I think there is a good chance that they're going to be better by default just from the Bedard effect alone. On the blue line, we're expecting Seth Jones to be your top pair D, and I think we'll see Kevin Korchinski get an opportunity to play in that spot. Maybe not every shift, but a fair bit with them. You're looking at your 3-4D as being Tenorti and Murphy, and then Vlasic and Zaitsev likely make up your third pair with Peter Mrazek and Arvid Soderblom between the pipes. So as I mentioned, like the questions facing the team, the expectations, well, how good is Bedard going to be? Is he going to be like a 30 goal, 30 assist guy? Is he going to be able to crack 40 to 50? Are we going to see a debut like we did with Austin Matthews? What kind of player are we going to see here? It's debatable. It's questionable until we see him against true, full NHL lineups. It's going to be a challenge because here's the thing. He's playing top line minutes. It's going to be awfully tough to kind of insulate him, so to speak. I don't think he really needs it anyway. They're going to want to see how he can do against the NHL's other top lines, but teams are going to be able to, if they want a line match and really focus on shutting him down, they're going to have that option because the Blackhawks don't have the depth right now to really have a lot of other threats. So that's going to play a role in how well he does too. I can see him getting 30-plus goals, though. I really can. It wouldn't surprise me if it's more. It wouldn't shock me if the kid hit 40 or 45. Who knows? I mean, the sky's the limit for him. I don't want to set it, pump his tires too much and have him not come close. But watching him is going to be a special thing this year because I think we're going to see special things out of him. Not only him, but a few other rookies as well. And certainly, are they still going to be a bottom feeder? They're going to move up in the standings? Well, I think they'll move up a little bit. I don't think they're going to move up a whole lot. I don't know if they're going to be able to get out of the basement of their division. This team is probably still going to be definitely in the bottom 10. Could they move up a few spots in the standings? Yes, it's possible. They may not be picking quite so high next year unless they have some lottery luck. But yeah, I don't see them being a playoff team, and I don't see them getting too far up the standings. But improvement should be had just from the Bedard effect alone. And obviously, the other thing is, can they move some of these guys at the deadline to continue accumulating assets? Like Perry, Foligno especially, maybe the intent isn't to move them at the deadline. You got to wonder, because they're making $4 million, even with 50% retained, that's $2 million. That's going to be hard for a lot of teams to fit in under the cap for what they bring. So you may not see as much activity with the Blackhawks when it comes to trades this year, especially in and around the deadline, unless there's some other players maybe making less that maybe they are willing to part with that pique the interest of other teams. But overall, like I said, it's a new era in Chicago. The Connor Bedard era is about to begin. I know his first game is through the rookie showcase. He got a hat trick. Again, only playing against the other league's top rookies. This is not an NHL game and anywhere near it, really. So we'll see how the preseason goes. We'll see how he starts his career. But it's going to be a special time. He's going to do special things. And it's just a matter of how high that ceiling can go right off the bat. But again, this kid's coming in with immense expectations. I don't want people hopefully being too let down. For example, if he only scores 25, 30 goals, that's still pretty darn special for a rookie, and he still has all kinds of time to grow into what's expected of him in his career. So we'll see. Let the Connor Bedard era in Chicago begin. We'll see some improvements, but more than anything, we're watching Bedard more than we are watching the team move up the standings for one more season at least. Let me know your thoughts on the Blackhawks and your expectations down in the comments. Also, let me know your thoughts on some goals and assists for Bedard. What do you think he can accomplish in year one? Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.